My only sweet, Princess Leonor's hidden letter that shook the palace. The rain had just begun falling over Madrid when the first whisper escaped the palace walls, soft, uncertain, but unmistakably charged with something too delicate to ignore. At the royal palace of Zarzuela, tension had been thick for days. A silence hung in the air that even the discreet servants could feel as they passed through the long corridors, careful not to speak louder than necessary. Something was coming, something big enough to make even seasoned royal watchers lean forward. And it would all begin with a letter, hidden, handwritten, and addressed with 3 quiet but explosive words. My only sweet. No one knew exactly when Princess Leonor wrote it. Some said it was months ago, on a night when her duties felt heavier than her years. Others claimed it was recent, crafted on one of her brief escapes from the public eye. But when the letter finally surfaced, accidentally, unintentionally, disastrously, it shook the Spanish royal family harder than anything in recent memory. The future queen had written something so personal, so vulnerable, so revealing that the monarchy, already fragile, trembled under its weight. And this is the story, whispered in hallways, murmured by staff, nervously analyzed by advisors, of how a private love letter created a storm no one saw coming. The discovery. It began with a simple mistake. A staff member, loyal and discreet, had been sorting documents in one of the smaller offices near Leonor's private study. It was routine work, filing reports, organizing schedules, clearing out papers the princess no longer needed. In the middle of a stack of training notes from the military academy, something caught their eye, a folded envelope, sealed but unaddressed, with Leonor's handwriting on the inside flap. The paper was smooth, thick, expensive. The kind used only for personal correspondence. Curiosity flickered, but loyalty held stronger. They didn't open it. They only placed it aside with care, assuming it would later be destroyed or stored properly. But fate is rarely so gentle. Queen Letizia happened to pass through that same office minutes later. She had been searching for one of Leonor's reports. And when she reached for the stack, the envelope slipped free, landing face up on the floor. She picked it up, ready to place it back, until she saw the faint indentation of the first line through the paper. The pressure of Leonor's handwriting had pressed through just enough to make it readable. My only sweet, you have carried my heart longer than I have carried my title. A mother knows her daughter's voice on paper. A queen knows danger when she sees it. Her breath caught, her fingers tightened. The weight of those words, romantic, intimate, burning with emotion, was not the kind a future monarch could afford to reveal. The letter was not addressed. The letter was not sealed. And worst of all, the letter was not finished. Something inside Letizia shifted. Worry, fear, love, all tangled into one silent storm. She didn't open it, but she didn't return it either. She slipped it into her coat. And by doing so, she unknowingly opened the gates to the greatest palace whisper of the year. Leonor's world. To understand the impact of the letter, one must understand Leonor herself. Spain saw her as disciplined, perfect, unfaltering, the daughter who carried her nation with a straight back and a steady gaze. A future queen who mastered protocol from childhood. A young woman who rarely faltered, never spoke out of place, never allowed emotion to overshadow duty. But behind palace doors, Leonor was something else. A teenager who had grown too fast. A daughter caught between two worlds. A girl carrying the weight of centuries. She loved Spain. She respected the crown. She accepted her destiny. But love, real love, was never part of the plan they carved for her. Yet she found it anyway. No one knew exactly when. Some palace staff whispered it began during her early studies in Wales. Others claimed she met him during humanitarian work. A few, the boldest of the whisperers, dared to say he was someone Spain would never expect a future queen to choose. But what they all agreed on was this. Leonor loved deeply, quietly, fiercely, enough to write a letter like this. The letter begins. What was inside the letter? What did the princess write that made the palace tremble? Only a handful of people ever saw it. But palace whispers are like smoke, impossible to contain. And so, piece by piece, the contents leaked. It began softly. My only sweet. I speak to you in the only place where I am allowed to be truly myself, these pages. A romantic opening, but also a confession. The words of someone trapped between the heart and the crown. Then came more. You are the only person who sees Leonor, not the Princess of Asturias. The only one who remembers the girl before the cameras, before the scripts, before the duty that follows me like a shadow. This line alone, insiders said, sent advisors into quiet panic. Spain expected its future queen to be strong, resilient, unshakable. Vulnerability, in politics, is currency and danger. But Leonor wasn't done. If the world knew how much of my strength comes from you, they would never believe I could stand without you. A future queen admitting dependence, dangerous. A future queen admitting love, explosive. And the whispers grew louder. The secret the king feared. When Queen Letizia showed King Felipe the letter, he grew still, too still, staff members recalled. His jaw tensed the way it did when dealing with constitutional crises. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't panic. But his silence spoke more than words. He had always known Leonor carried her responsibilities with a weight heavier than any young woman should. But he also knew the monarchy depended on perception. A quiet romance. Allowed. A hidden relationship. Tolerated. But a love so deep it threatened to overshadow her duty. That was a risk the crown could not afford. Felipe read the lines again and again. And each time, the same question surfaced. Who is he? And how much does he matter to her? Rumors swirled through the palace faster than the truth. Some said Felipe already knew. Others claimed he suspected. A few whispered that he had feared this exact moment for months. Because love, true love, makes a future queen unpredictable. And unpredictability is the enemy of monarchy. Leonor finds out. No one knows exactly who told her. Some say her mother. Others insist an advisor slipped. But by evening, everyone knew the princess had discovered the truth. Her private letter had been found. Witnesses described the moment she walked into the family's private salon. Shoulders straight, eyes dark with emotion. Not angry, but hurt. Queen Letizia tried to apologize. To explain. To soften. But Leonor only said, "My words were never meant for the crown. They were meant for him." It was the closest she had ever come to defying her role. Felipe asked gently, "Do you love him?" And Leonor's answer, whispered but unwavering, echoed through the palace. "More than I ever asked to." The full weight of the letter. As fragments spread through the palace, more of the letter became known. "When I speak to you, the world becomes small enough for me to breathe. They do not know how long I have fought to keep us safe. If I must choose between silence and losing you, I will write until my hand can no longer hold the pen." And the line that caused the greatest stir. "One day, if the world allows it, I will not hide you anymore." Royal advisors froze. That sentence, they said, could break everything. Because the world might not allow it. Spain might not accept it. The monarchy might not survive it. But love, once written, cannot be erased. The palace divides. Queen Letizia wanted to protect her daughter. King Felipe wanted to protect the crown. Advisors wanted to prevent scandal. And Leonor, caught between them all, wanted only truth. The palace split into quiet factions. Those who believed the princess should be allowed to love freely. And those who believed she must sacrifice for her throne. Conversations grew tense. Meetings stretched long into the night. Every whisper felt like a storm gathering strength. For the first time in years, the monarchy's most private struggle was not political. It was human. The truth about him. Rumors swirled like wind. Was he a commoner? A foreigner? Someone outside the royal circles entirely? Some whispered he was someone the monarchy would never approve. Others claimed he was simply inconvenient. But what mattered, and what frightened the palace, was how deeply Leonor loved him. Because the letter made one truth undeniable. She would not let him go easily. Leonor's decision. On the fourth night after the letter was discovered, Leonor made her choice. She walked alone into her father's study, the same room where kings before him made decisions that shaped Spain. Staff members said her voice was steady, calm, determined. She told her father, "I will not abandon my duty. But I will not abandon my heart either." And then, with a courage reminiscent of a true queen, she added, "You raised me to serve Spain. But you also raised me to be honest. And I cannot be honest if I pretend I do not love him." The room fell silent. Felipe, witnesses said, looked at her for a long time. Not as a king, but as a father watching his daughter grow beyond the boundaries he tried so hard to protect. He didn't forbid her. He didn't approve. He only said, "We will find a way. But the world must never see this letter." And Leonor answered, "They already have." The leak. Within hours, the whispers escaped the palace entirely. A journalist received an anonymous tip. A newspaper published a subtle hint. A royal commentator claimed to know more. And suddenly, Spain buzzed. Europe speculated. Social media exploded. The princess wrote a love letter. The future queen is in love. The palace is panicking. The monarchy worked to control the narrative. But it was too late. The world wanted the full story. And the world wanted him. The last lines of the letter. The final section, the one that broke every heart inside the palace, was leaked last. It read, "My only sweet. If history tries to steal me from you, remember that before the crown, before the title, before the destiny placed in my hands, I was yours. In the quiet moments, in the hidden ones, in the ones we fought to protect, I am yours still, not in the way the world understands, but in the way only two hearts can know." And then the closing line. "Whatever happens next, you are the home I choose, even if I cannot walk through its door yet." Spain read those words and fell silent. A future queen had confessed her heart. And the monarchy would never be the same. The aftermath. Did Felipe eventually meet the young man? Was the letter truly private or part of a bigger story? Would Leonor choose love, or would destiny choose for her? Palace whispers say the royal family is navigating unfamiliar waters. That Leonor is standing firmer than anyone expected. That the crown is preparing for conversations it cannot avoid. But one thing is certain. The world now knows. Princess Leonor not only is the future queen of Spain, but as a young woman who loves deeply, fiercely, authentically. And that truth, once revealed, cannot be taken